there apparently is a cut from DOGE of food to the bomb-sniffing dogs at TSA.
I couldn't believe this. I saw the story on Facebook and I thought that can't be true. And then I went looking for sources and I found that it's on Newsweek, The Independent. This is wild, Mark.
The bomb-sniffing units were affected by the cuts the same week that the White House celebrated Canine Veterans Day, because everything's ironic in America now. DOGE head Elon Musk has admitted that the organization may get some things wrong, and this one they seem to get wrong. The changes to the budget initiated by DOGE have affected key parts of the National Explosives Detection Canine Team program. And as of the moment, all requests for everything to include vet visits, kenneling, dog food, etc., have been put on hold until we receive further guidance, is the official word. So essentially, the dogs, their food, their kenneling, their maintenance, if you will, their health care, it's all put on hold.
How do you put vet care on hold? How do you put food orders for these bomb-sniffing dogs on hold? How is that possible?
Well, you get a bunch of 18 to 26-year-olds to come in and just yank your funding. When you're Elon Musk, that's how you do it. It's pretty crazy. And on that same day, the White House on the X platform posted Happy Canine Veterans Day to all of our heroic working dogs, including Conan, who fearlessly participated in the military operation that ended ISIS leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi in 2019.
You said that really well.
No, I kind of fumbled it, actually, but thank you for saying that.
It sounded right. I don't know.
All right, thank you. Anyway, it's not clear if the funding's been, this isn't one of those things like, oh, it was a mistake, we're going to restore the funding. It's not clear that that funding will be restored. So, boy, air travel is really getting to be a real roll of the dice as they increasingly, there he is. We're showing a picture, if those who are listening, of Trump in the Oval Office with Conan, who's the dog who was referenced in the post on X, and who is also the, coincidentally, dog being starved now because there is no money for the food for any of these TSA dogs.
Sorry, Conan, you won't be eating tonight.
Yeah, not come to the Thompson household. We have plenty of food left over from the cats. These town halls where angry people are getting up and, talking about what the situation is, what the real situation is. The reality is that these are real people with real concerns. The message is, no, they're not. They're just Democratic plants. Isn't that kind of what's been argued?
That's what's been argued. Republicans are saying these are paid activists, paid protesters going around to all of these town hall meetings. Now, Democrats, by the way, have just come out with a new plan. Their plan is to host town halls in all of these places, have their lawmakers put out more town halls to show that, no, they'll probably get the same type of people coming to their town halls with the same concerns. So that's the newest thing. There was another town hall over the weekend where someone was extremely concerned about Social Security, stood up and said, listen, we pay for this. We paid into the system, and they're now shutting down offices, shutting down phone numbers. And so I can't even call and get the help that I need.
Now, in that case, that was in Michigan. The lawmaker reiterated, don't worry, they're not touching Social Security. Hey, they've already touched it. Okay. And the idea somehow, don't worry, they're not touching it. No, those are the old days. But the idea that that dude who stood up and was yelling in that Chuck Edwards, North Carolina town hall, the idea that he was a plant, not so much. Tony, roll a little bit. They have an interview with him. They, on the spot. This is, as you can see, that's Chuck Edwards, and Jay Carey is his name, and he went viral for telling Edwards to, F off. So, go ahead, Tony. You have it, or can you roll it? But the part with the Carey is what I wanted. Yeah, so he's being removed, and then afterward, they catch up to him, and he's not some Democratic plant. Turns out he's
I'm a veteran. I depend on the VA for my health care, as do many other people here. And with the recent cuts and the expected long cuts coming down the pipeline of over 80,000 personnel, care is already difficult. It's going to get more difficult to the point where people may not even be able to get care.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that he's right. He's absolutely right. I mean, again, going after the VA and Social Security, bad plan. Bad plan, and not actually what is laid out in Project 2025. In Project 2025, they really lay out a blueprint for doing a lot of what they're doing now, but it's far more organized. It's far more deliberate. And one of the things they talk about is we want to privatize Social Security and privatize these programs or get rid of them completely. It shouldn't be under government control, is their view. And even though these are wildly successful programs that Americans count on, and there's no inefficiency and waste compared to many other government programs and agencies. And if you really want the inefficiency and waste, as I've said before, go across the Potomac to the Pentagon. You will not see anything in the world that could approach is even a day's drive within the kind of waste and fraud that exists within the Pentagon. But anyway, their plan was to not bring Social Security and the Veterans Administration front and center right away. They were going to try to dismantle a lot of these agencies that the public might not notice as much, lower profile agencies. Frankly, USAID might have been among them. I don't remember. But I know USAID and FAA he went after immediately because he had, Musk had personal problems with them. They were the regulatory issues and fines from those agencies. But my point is simply, now that they're talking about Social Security and the Veterans Administration, you're going to get more of this pushback of the sort that we've just seen. These are veterans. These are elderly people. They paid into the system. They deserve something back, legitimately. And they're angry, and they deserve to be angry. And so you're going to see more of that in these town meetings. Randy says, where are all the major DOGE announcements about how much waste and fraud they found at the Defense Department? Yeah, there's none. They're not going to, the figures are made up anyway. I mean, these are made up figures. I heard Trump the other day, this is just the other day, might have been Friday, saying that DOGE had found $500 billion, maybe it was during that Tesla pitch, $500 billion, and he said, with a B, of waste, fraud, and abuse. What?
Where?
Yeah. Again, Trump makes this stuff up in the moment, but he sells it better than anyone, and a lot of people lap it up. And the other thing I would just, to dovetail with Richard Green, the Civics Dean, it's a dangerous time in America because there really isn't a viable opposition party at all. The Democrats have lost control of both bodies of Congress, and they are, based on recent polling, not very popular. 29% popularity, apparently. So this is a scary time if you're the opposition. Donald Trump was angry overnight. And Donald Trump, in a middle-of-the-night meltdown, has declared that the pardons issued by Joe Biden are no longer in effect. They are void, vacant, and of no further force or effect. And he wrote that in capital letters.
Good day, sir.
The president claiming that Biden's pardons were signed by an auto pen. This is apparently in a report from a right-wing group that must have gotten to Trump somehow. And they suggest that the use of this mechanical device in the Biden White House voids a lot of these declarations and pardons.
Isn't it common, the auto pen?
Yes, it's been used for quite some time.
Okay.
But that doesn't prevent Donald Trump from declaring full-throatedly and passionately, Tony has it for you here, I know you want to read along with me, the pardons, in quotes, that Sleepy Joe Biden gave to the unselect committee of political thugs and many others are hereby declared void, vacant, and of no further force and effect because of the fact that they were done by auto pen. In other words, Joe Biden did not sign them, but more importantly, he did not know anything about them. No, I mean, again, this is just made up, but the necessary pardoning documents were not explained to or approved by Biden. He knew nothing about them, and the people that did may have committed a crime. And he goes on.
Joe
Look,
Biden talked about who he was pardoning. He was
exactly.
asked the following day who he was pardoning, why he was pardoning them. He gave press conferences about it, about pardoning the people convicted of nonviolent crimes, of drug offenses. He went on and on about it. This is asinine.
Yeah. The other thing is that it was like one of the most talked about things for 6 weeks prior to the pardons being issued. There were panel discussions about it. Should he issue preemptive pardons? There were all of these questions about the Trump political machine coming and what they might go after once they were in power. And so in view of that, Biden made these quite extraordinary preemptive pardons. So the idea that he didn't know is sort of but that's the hook on which Trump is hanging the latest.
He's also saying that he's alleging something sinister happening.
Sure.
That not only, he says, did President Biden not even understand what was happening because he is so, gorked out, but also that the people that he pardoned, especially on the January 6th committee, had a hand in doing this, that somehow they pardoned themselves with the auto pen, and that the full investigation on all of these people is a coming. Really? I think he's just bitter beans that he didn't get to go after people he wanted to go after. And how incredibly short-sighted, because if you vacate or void or whatever, even with court backing, President Biden's pardons, then yours are next, pal.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a legal leg to stand on here. It's just bluster. But he is getting away with doing a lot, and he helps feed the narrative that, they broke the law. And the more he feeds the narrative, they break the law, then the we break the law, or we stretch the law, or we ignore the courts, all of a sudden seems as though it's just a balancing act. It's really part of this aggressive, pugnacious, angry, vengeful thing that he does. And he does it effectively. So we'll see where it all settles out, but they're not going to avoid any pardons. No. I mean, again, if you get a fair court judgment, you really will not get that. You will not get him. These pardons will be fought in court for years. Yeah, let me just mention something about what's going to be fought in court, because I think it's really important. One of the things that's happening right now, and I think does bear some attention, is that they're doing that thing that they think is so cool. It's the, it's the tech bro thing, the startup thing, move fast and break stuff, move fast and break stuff. If this is the U.S. government and the United States of America, we move deliberately and we're careful about things so as not to break them. What they've done is they have moved fast and they've broken government and government's ability to do things. And in discharging tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands of federal workers, they are creating a dismantling of the government that will leave it unable to do a lot of the stuff that it's supposed to do. So you say, yeah, but they're going to court and they're going to, you can see how he's losing in all these court cases. I keep hearing that. Trump is losing in all these court cases, case after case. He's losing. Of course, he's losing because he's doing things that are illegal. Musk is doing things that are illegal. The existence of DOGE is illegal. The allowing for this reckless, wanton destruction of government is likely illegal, not empowered by any sort of congressional approval. But it's going on. So you say, well, so now in the courts, he's going to lose and all those people are going to be reinstated. Not really. Yes, he's losing, but it takes time to reinstate everyone. And by the time you reinstate them, they've moved on. Many of them. These are competent people who really had a sense of public service. I'd suggest this public service and that sense is not shared by a lot of people who are involved in these firings. But the thing I want to make clear is that this is a clever Trumpian strategy to go to the courts, and in the courts, stretch it out, stretch it out, stretch it out. And by the time we get a court judgment that says, hey, you got to reinstate everybody, those people have moved on. Now, again, some of the court judgments come quickly. Some of those reinstatements come quickly. But changing the face of government is not something you can do if you're waiting for the courts to correct everything. And sadly, we're kind of left to do that. But I just want to be clear that when we talk about what he's losing in all of these court cases, and these are ways in which the norms will be established and reestablished, and will essentially hold the line through the courts. I'd say that the fact that you're ending up in the courts in so many different cases, I mean, with laughably illegal things that they're doing, it still takes time to undo it. And sometimes you can't undo it at all. It's like, if we're making a casserole and we turn it over for the night to a chef who just puts a bunch of salt and hot peppers and stuff that it becomes inedible. Maybe pieces of metal from the kitchen fall in, and he just stirs it into the casserole.
Gross.
So we go to court and they say, yeah, he was not deputized to do that. He was not authorized to do that. So take those metal pieces out and take those cayenne peppers out. Well, you can't. The casserole is destroyed. We have to start with a whole new casserole. And so I think this is a bit of what we're seeing now. There's so much wanton destruction that it's hard to undo. And again, it's important to keep track of what it is, though. So those who say, yeah, I know it's bad. I just don't want to know anything about it, man. What can we do? You need to keep track of it. You need to make noise. You need to make the calls. You need to show up to meetings. These are the ways in which eventually you may be able to retake power. So I see this all as dangerous, scary. I'm, as you know, not necessarily optimistic about things, but by the same token, I think you need to be vigilant. You must be vigilant on this stuff. Hi, it's Mark, and I thought that was great. Hit the notification bell. You'll know whenever there's a new video being dropped, and please subscribe to our channel to help us save the universe.